Pauline Monga.
Good afternoon, I'm Claudette Ndaza Jonga, and our sign language interpreters are Jason Manda and Chola Kaoma.
And we have a look at the business of the House before we give you what is expected to come for discussion on the floor of the House. We start with business of the House yesterday, which started with an announcement by the Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker, in which she acquainted the House with the presence of in the Speaker's gallery of members of Parliament and staff from the Parliament of Tanzania. She welcomed the visitors to the institution.
Madam First Deputy Speaker also did recognize the presence in the public gallery of students from the following colleges: that's Matem College of Education in Lusaka District and Lusaka Business and Technical College in Lusaka District. And so on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam First Deputy Speaker warmly welcomed the visitors.
And in another announcement, the Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker reminded the House that in May 2025, the inaugural Parliament Day under the theme Taking Parliament Closer to the People, Strengthening Democratic Governance Through Public Engagement was launched, marking 101 years of the legislature's existence and an important milestone in the history of Parliament. She further reminded the House that during the launch, she announced that 23rd May would be commemorated annually as a Parliament Day. And in that regard, she informed the House that this year's commemoration would take place on Saturday, 25th April 2026 at Parliament Buildings under the theme Strengthening Democratic Governance through an Inclusive Parliament that meets the aspirations of the people, and that it would be prudent to hold it on the date to enable honourable members to participate before the dissolution of the House in May 2026. Madam First Deputy Speaker further informed the House that the theme would enable reflection on achievements while acknowledging the need to reposition the institution to respond to the future needs, particularly in light of the Constitution Amendment Act number 13 of 2025. Madam First Deputy Speaker then invited all honourable members to participate in the event, which would be the last commemoration for the 13th National Assembly. She did state that the event would commence with a march past led by the Honourable Madam Speaker and other presiding officers starting at 09 hours.
After those announcements, 3 urgent matters that notice were raised yesterday. The first one did come from Mr. Mpundu on the alleged criminal attacks targeting Levi Mwanawasa Medical University students residing in boarding houses in PHI and Mtende residential areas, and this one was inadmissible. Madam First Deputy Speaker directed the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security to issue a ministerial statement on Wednesday, 22nd April 2026. The other urgent matter did come from Mr. Chibuye on the lack of adequate signage on the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway under construction, which had allegedly contributed to reckless driving by motorists, and this one was inadmissible. And the last urgent matter that notice did come from Mr. Kapianga on the lack of mobile network connectivity in Mukungule Chiefdom in Pika Parliamentary constituency, and this one was equally inadmissible. So those were the 3 urgent matters that notice that were raised yesterday.
And after that, Claudette, there were quite a number of bills that were presented to the House, starting with the National Assembly Powers and Privileges Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 45 of 2026. And there was also the Parliamentary Code of Conduct Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2026.
The other bill that was presented yesterday was the Flying Doctor Service Bill, National Assembly Bill number 47 of 2026. There was also the Zambia Medicines and Medical Supplies Agency Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 48 of 2026.
Other bills presented were the Zambia Wildlife Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 49 of 2026, and also the the Sports Council of Zambia Amendment Bill. This is National Assembly Bill number 52 of 2026.
We also saw the presentation of the Zambia Educational Publishing House Foundation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 54 of 2026. The Zambia Institute for Tourism and Hospitality Studies Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 55 of 2026. The Zambia Institute of Advanced Legal Education Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2026.
Others included the Zambia Revenue Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 57 of 2026, and the Zambia Tourism and Hospitality Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 58 of 2026, and also the National Health Research Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 59 of 2026.
The other bills that were presented yesterday include the National Prosecution Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 61 of 2026, the Patents and Companies Registration Agency Bill, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2026, the Persons and Disabilities Bill, National Assembly Bill number 64 of 2026, and lastly, the Land, that's Perpetual Succession Bill, National Assembly Bill number 62 of 2026. So all these bills were presented at first reading stage.
Yes, Claudette, they were presented at first reading stage and referred to the relevant committees. The report on the bills will be brought back to the House in due course. And thereafter, the House went on to consider questions for oral answer under understanding order number 82, and this was question number 316, followed by question number 317 and 318, which were considered understanding order number 80.
Quite a number of motions were considered yesterday. The first one was moved by Mr. Chibuye of Ron, urging the House to adopt the reports of the Committee on the National Economy, Trade and Labour Matters on the review of the operations of the National Pension Scheme Authority for the fifth session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th April 2026.
And we also had Mr. Munsanje, Member of Parliament for Mbabala, who moved the report on the motion on the Committee on Health, Community Development and Social Welfare, and in this motion he urged that the House adopts the report of the Committee on Health, Community Development and Social Services on the burden of cancer diseases in Zambia, and this was laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th April 2026, for the fifth session of the 13th National Assembly. And notice was taken at 17 hours that a quorum had not been formed, and of course the bells were rung, and thereafter, a quorum having been formed, business of the House continued. The House then went on to consider a private member's motion, and this was also moved by Mbabala Member of Parliament, Mr. Munsanje. In this motion, he did urge the House to urge government to develop a national methane abatement strategy, and this motion was debated at length, and after that a question was put and it was resolved in the affirmative. So after that, the House went on to adjourn, there being no further business, and the House adjourned accordingly at 18:31. So that was basically business of the House yesterday, 21st April 2026.
All right, so time now to look at today's business. We do have two ministerial statements on the floor of the House. The first one will come from the Minister of Transport and Logistics on the lifting of the night driving ban for public service vehicles, and the other ministerial statement is expected to come from the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security on what measures the government is taking to address the security issues affecting students at Levi Mwanawasa Medical University.
And after that, there are quite a number of bills again to be presented by the government. We have 6 government bills to be presented, and then 2 questions that will come for oral answer understanding order number 80, and there are 2 private members' motions and also 1 committee report to be considered on the floor of the House.
So as we await for the Speaker's procession to make its way into the chamber, we'll have a look at the 2 private motions, and of course the other motion that will be moved on the floor of the House. 1 private motion is expected to come from Mr. Mabeta, and it's titled Recapitalize the National Health Insurance Management Authority. And the other private motion will come from Mr. Chanda. It's titled Establish an Environmental Court within the High Court.
And the other motion to be moved by Mr. Kafaya Mutotwe, and this is a committee report, as I mentioned earlier, and in this motion he's urging that the House adopts the report of the Committee on National Guidance and Gender Matters on the gender-responsive climate change policy frameworks in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th April 2026.
We do have 5 government bills that will be presented at a first reading stage, and these include the Zambia National Public Health Institute Bill, National Assembly Bill number 50 of 2026. Just about now, the Speaker's procession making its way into the chamber, signifying the start of business. Good afternoon.
Honorable members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for our rights. We want freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with athletes by God's good hand. Let us all our people join as one, brothers under the sun, oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry, dignity and peace in Zambia's sky. Like a noble eagle in its flight, Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free. Praise be to God, bless our great Zambia, 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 green and we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Board, honorable members, I have 2 announcements. The first announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Kulandi Primary School in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I welcome the visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seats. The next announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of visitors from Koloma Seventh-day Adventist Pathfinders and Adventurers Club members in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I welcome the visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seats. Urgent matters without notice. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, once again, I'm grateful that you've allowed me to raise an urgent matter without notice directed to the Minister responsible for Finance. As I'm not able to see the Minister of Finance, I wish to direct the matter to our Honor the Vice President. Madam Speaker, you might be aware that Parliament did amend a law, which is the Banking and Financial Services Act, a law, Madam Speaker, which regulates the operations of financial institutions in Zambia, as well as those citizens that wish to undertake what is called money lending. And as a result of some of the amendments that were done to that law, Madam Speaker, there's been public outcry from those that are involved in money lending in the context of how much and the list of requirements that government is placing on these individuals that are doing money lending. An opportunity, Madam Speaker, needs to be accorded to government to assure these particular traders, these Zambian citizens that are involved in business, especially regarding the complaints around the requirements. There's a public outcry that the list of requirements, Madam Speaker, is going to prevent them from continuing the business of money lending. And I think it's the policy of every government since independence to create jobs for citizens. And I think that it will be important for government to come and assure our young men and women, especially those entrepreneurs that are involved in money lending, that government will relook at the list of requirements. Madam Speaker, the complaint is genuine. Zambian young men and women want to continue lending money in order to earn a living. An opportunity needs to be accorded to government to render that assurance. Madam Speaker, I seek your indulgence.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Kamfinsa. I suggest you put in a question which the Honorable Minister can be able to come and clarify the issues that you want to bring to the attention of the House and through this House to the people of Zambia, as the matter does not qualify to be raised as an urgent matter without notice. But you can put in a question. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The matter I wish to raise is directed to the Minister of Tourism.
You may proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For the past 1 month, Madam Speaker, our children are being eaten by hyenas. The first one was Rhoda Piri in Titimira. The other one, Vero Kumwenda in Molozi. The other one, Zimba Righteous. 3 of these have died. Last evening, Madam Speaker, Mishek Rosendo, 7-year-old, and coming from Kasalika village in Mukomba ward, Madam Speaker, they were attacked by hyenas and they are battling for their lives. One in Chipata Central Hospital and the other one, Madam Speaker, in Lundazi District Hospital. Madam Speaker, the people in Lundazi, especially the 3 wards, Lunevwa, Nchitimira and Mukomba, Madam Speaker, are living in fear. The hyenas are attacking the children, even as they are moving with their mothers. I've been tasked, Madam Speaker, this afternoon to make an earnest appeal, looking at how our children are being killed, Madam Speaker, through you to Her Honor the Vice President, then to the President of the Republic of Zambia, Madam Speaker. Our friends on the Malawian side, they have been able to put a fence to ensure that those hyenas are not attacking their family members. Madam Speaker, I know you can say CDF because your families are safe, but these are the people who put us in power.
Honorable Member for Lundazi, your time is up. Please wind up.
Madam Speaker, the people of Lundazi have asked me that I request for a quick intervention. Through your floor, Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Lundazi, for raising that issue. But you know, we are a house of orders and procedures, and we are not supposed to be repeating ourselves. I know that there was a report that was considered recently on the floor of this house, which talked about the issue of human conflict, human-animal conflict, and I believe that report contains a number of recommendations to the government on how this issue can be addressed. So in terms of raising the issue, it's been raised, we are sad that children are dying through being attacked by hyenas. I just read again on whether it's true or not that there are some elephants in Mongu and Senanga. And there are so many issues surrounding human-animal conflict. And we even constituted a committee. This matter has been going on. The government is aware. So also, Honorable Member for Lundazi, engaging sometimes can help. Do engage with the Honorable Minister of Tourism and see how best we can resolve these issues. But in terms of bringing the matter to the attention of the government, I think the government is aware. This issue was, again, as I said earlier on, was debated on the floor of this House through a report from the committee. So since the action taken reports, maybe you can do government assurances and all those things and make a follow-up. But please do engage. The Honorable Minister of Tourism is here. I would suggest that you do engage him. But we have sincere condolences to the families that have lost their young ones, and we wish the ones that are in hospital a quick recovery. So the matter is not admitted because it will amount to us being repetitious, which is against our standing orders. Then last is the Honorable Member for Nakonde.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker, the matter that I wish to raise is directed at the Minister of Home Affairs. Madam Speaker, one of your members of this House, Honorable Brian Munduvire, is being threatened to be dealt with from some of the cadres from UPND.
The Honorable Member, without curtailing you, just to guide and remind you that we do not debate ourselves on the floor of this House. If you have any special complaint touching on any one of our members, you can raise it directly with me in my office, and then I can draw the attention of the Minister to the issue. But to raise it as an urgent matter, Honorable Member, is, you are following the wrong procedure.
Madam Speaker, the life of the Honorable is in danger. The reason why you are saying this, Madam Speaker, there is no any statement. Order,
Honorable Member for Nakonde, I have guided. We do not debate ourselves. Just follow the procedure that I've said, that if you have an issue, please raise it up in my office, and then I'll be able to bring it to the attention of the Honorable Minister or to whichever authorities are involved. So please do not debate. That is the conclusion of urgent matters without notice. We make progress. I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Transport and Logistics to present a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Madam Speaker, for the record, permit me to thank you most sincerely for according me this opportunity to update this august House and through it the nation on government's decision to revoke and lift the restriction on night driving for public service vehicles, which was effected through statutory instrument number 76 of 2016 and later amended by the Road Traffic Public Service Vehicles Restriction on Night Driving Amendment Regulation number 51 of 2021. Madam Speaker, allow me to clarify from the outset that the restriction on night driving was not in practice an absolute or unconditional prohibition. While the statutory instrument imposed restrictions on night travel, public service vehicles were permitted to operate during night hours, provided they complied with specific safety requirements as stipulated under the Fleet Safety Management Policy. The policy is based on the following pillars. Number 1, driver management. 2, vehicle management. 3, journey management. 4, health and safety management. And lastly, in 5, organizational management. The restrictions included, among others, the requirements included, among others, the installation and effective utilization of functional global position system GPS tracking devices. 2, compliance with prescribed driver working hours to prevent fatigue. And in 3, adherence to road safety standards and operational guidelines enforced by the Road Transport and Safety Agency, RATSA. Madam Speaker, the House may recall that this restriction was introduced in 2016 as an emergency response to a series of tragic road traffic accidents, particularly involving long-distance passenger buses operating during night hours. The intention at that time was clear and justified: to preserve life by addressing risks associated with driver fatigue, poor visibility, and weak enforcement. However, Madam Speaker, policy must evolve with circumstances. After nearly a decade of implementation and following extensive review and consultations, government has resolved that maintaining the current framework is no longer the most efficient or effective way of managing both road safety and national productivity. Madam Speaker, this decision is not taken lightly. It is informed by several key developments within our transport sector that have significantly strengthened the foundations of road safety. These include substantial improvements in road transport infrastructure across the country and in the recent past that support safer travel, including at night. Number 2, increased adoption of modern vehicle safety technologies such as tracking technologies that enable real-time monitoring of driver behavior and vehicle movement. And 3, enhanced enforcement capacity by the Road Transport and Safety Agency, supported by digital monitoring systems. These developments now provide a more robust, sustainable basis for managing road safety risks without relying on restrictive operational limitations. Madam Speaker, beyond safety considerations, the continued enforcement of the night driving ban has had unintended economic and operational consequences. It has constrained the efficiency of the transport sector, limited operational hours for transporters, increased travel times, and imposed inconvenience on passengers who are often forced into unnecessary overnight stops. Furthermore, the restriction has placed Zambian operators at a disadvantage within the region, particularly in cross-border trade, where neighboring countries do not impose similar blanket limitations. In this regard, the lifting of the ban is also aligned with government's broader agenda of promoting a 24-hour economy, enhancing trade facilitation, and positioning Zambia as a competitive land-linked logistics hub. Madam Speaker, arising from the Cabinet decision to facilitate extended economic activity, the Ministry has revoked the statutory instrument for night driving. Let me emphasize that this decision does not constitute a deregulation of the sector, but rather a deliberate transition to a more targeted, responsive, and enforceable safety regime, one that firmly upholds the paramount need to safeguard human life. In order to mitigate the risk of an increase in road traffic accidents, particularly during night travel, the government will implement the following measures. Number 1, revision of speed limits for vehicles during night hours. Number 2, strengthened enforcement of mandatory GPS tracking systems in all public service vehicles. Number 4, greater use of ICTs in road traffic law enforcement, strict monitoring and enforcement of driver working hours to prevent fatigue, strengthened roadside inspections and compliance checks, procurement of additional enforcement vehicles to strengthen operational capacity and enhance effective law enforcement by RATSA, full implementation of the Fleet Safety Management Policy Framework. Madam Speaker, these measures represent a shift from restriction to regulation, from limitation to intelligent enforcement. They ensure that while we unlock economic activity and improve transport efficiency, we do not compromise on road safety. Madam Speaker, let me emphasize that road safety remains a shared responsibility. The government will continue to enforce the law, but operators must comply. Drivers must exercise discipline, and the general public must remain vigilant. The lifting of the night traveling ban is, therefore, not an abandonment of safety, but a transition to a more modern, balanced, and effective approach. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, this decision reflects government's commitment to responsive governance, one that listens, adapts, and acts in the best interests of the people. It is about facilitating economic growth, improving mobility, supporting regional integration, and doing so in a manner that upholds safety and accountability. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, Transport and Logistics. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement presented by the Honorable Minister of Transport and Logistics. The Honorable Member for Kantanshi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and welcome back. Before I ask a question, I would also want to congratulate our Honour the Vice President on your reappointment. I think it's a good message to the girl child out there, us who have daughters. Madam Speaker, the issue of the ban on night driving, whilst, yes, a decade has passed, and we have not recorded as many fatalities as in the past, but I wanted to find out from the Minister whether, as consultations were taking place in arriving at the current decision, did it include those vehicles that were highly involved in accidents in terms of who immediately, I would have expected government was going to unleash this lifting of the ban in phases, considering which vehicles were at risk for road accidents as opposed to you just opening it up as you have. I wanted to find out during those consultations whether there was a study that was done to isolate which vehicles were prone for these accidents, and therefore, in order to respond to the economy and opportunities that government is envisaging will take place after this decision, whether there was a plan to phase this, this lifting of the ban, or will it be just a blanket one and not consider the efforts and the reasons that were behind before this ban was implemented. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Member for Kantanshi for that follow-up question. I would like to state, Madam Speaker, that as a matter of fact, wide consultations involving various stakeholders have actually taken place, and we have been particularly, talking to operators that we may come to an understanding of what it is that may lead to some of these very regrettable fatal crashes involving public service vehicles. In our consultations and our investigations, we have actually found that just like I stated in my statement, that government will obviously bring about all these good intentions, and that yes, there are certain guidelines that must be followed. But we expect that operators must work with the government. Okay? I think that those of us that have been in the sector will know, for instance, the state of our motor vehicles. And RATSA, would like to employ the highest standard in terms of stringent monitoring of roadworthiness of motor vehicles. It's not per se a particular type of vehicle that may be prone or susceptible to getting involved in crashes, but rather the state of those particular motor vehicles. And so when we impose conditions such as mandatory installation of GPS tracking devices, it is for a very specific reason that would like to employ the use of technology to actually ascertain at what speed a driver is actually driving this PSV. And so the operators must work with RATSA to ensure that these are actually installed on their motor vehicles. Those that, for instance, are going very long distances must also ensure that you're not just imposing the burden on one driver. If you're driving from Lusaka all the way to Nakonde and expect to turn around the following morning, surely we're only human and may actually, get tired, at which point we may lose focus on the roads and become a danger, not only to ourselves, but also to other road users. So we have found that there are many factors, particularly some of them bordering more on driver behavior, which is one thing that we as a people of this country need to work on, so that we take responsibility for such important tasks as actually moving members of the public from one point to another in order to further their economic activities, indeed their rights of movement from one part to another within our country. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Member for Nkana, to be followed by the Honourable Member for Nyimba, who is joining us via Zoom. Please, Honourable Member for Nyimba, get ready. You'll be called upon soon. The Honourable Member for Nkana.
Honourable Minister, over the years, we have lost a lot of our citizens due to accidents. And most of these accidents are on record to have happened during the night. The reasons for accidents are various, Honourable Minister, ranging from the state of these vehicles, the poor state of our roads, poor lighting and terrible lighting on mostly trucks that disturbs other road users. I want to believe that the motivation for the lifting of the ban is the need for you to allow the wheels of commerce to spin 24/7. Do you think it is convenient to risk the lives of our citizens by wanting to allow the wheels of commerce to be spinning 24/7? Is it worth risking the lives for just that undertaking? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you to Honourable Member for Nkana for that very pertinent question, which question has been circulating around various platforms within our country of people that may be concerned. We, like I stated, have actually taken a very keen interest to understand what has been causing most of these accidents. And the Honourable Member, Madam Speaker, may wish to know that, as a matter of fact, some of the most notorious accidents that we've experienced in this country, such as the Zampost accident that happened in 2013, which took 51 lives, did not happen at night. It actually happened around 07 hours in the morning. In 2016, Madam Speaker, on a power tools bus, around Serenge, that accident, Madam Speaker, happened around 05 hours, and that this may have actually been one of the accidents that could have caused us to move to really try and curb, these unfortunate incidents by actually, placing a ban. Because not only did this accident happen around 05 hours, Madam Speaker, when we sent a tow truck, a Ratsa tow truck, around 09 hours, an unfortunate incident happened where, Madam Speaker, somebody was overspeeding, did not anticipate that there was an accident up ahead, and they went and actually further rammed into this particular accident, which now cost the life. It took the life of the Central Province Ratsa regional manager. And this was indeed very, very, very sad indeed. Most recently, Madam Speaker, you all recall the Likili bus accident, which happened between Chingola and Solwezi, and how certain, responsible citizens were actually able to take videos of how a driver was actually behaving on our roads. That accident also, Madam Speaker, happened around 07 hours. So, no, Madam Speaker, it would not be responsible for us simply to promote commerce that we put the lives of our citizens at risk. And that is not what this responsible administration is trying to do. The converse is what is true, that as a matter of fact, let us open up our roads that we may be able to move 24/7, because then that will also take away the rush. Because during the night ban period, if you happen to have gone to, intercity bus terminus, as some of us responsible ministers have done, where we go there early morning, you should see now when they are unleashed, suddenly everybody is cruising, they are rushing, that they may cross the next toll gate earlier than anybody else. So we've put all these factors in place, Madam Speaker, and we truly believe that with the support of fellow citizens, with the support of operators, with the support of the drivers, to actually promote self-regulation, we should be able to nip this notorious fact of fatal accidents in our country and actually improve the road safety profile of our country. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, thank you so much for your well-explained statement. Minister, my question to you is that a good number of accidents, as you've alluded to, usually happens during the early hour management explanation, which is perfect. Now, my question is that you've realized that the accident usually happens in the early hours of morning. And if you look at our load standards in major highways like the Great North Road, the Great East Road, the road from Soezi to Munidonga, these are in a very bad state. And what measures government is putting in place to see to it that these areas which are bad are managed, are considered in that fleet management system? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Member for Nyimba for that follow-up question. As the Honourable Member may have heard from the statement that I have presented, Madam Speaker, one of the facts around fatal road crashes that we have experienced in our country is that almost 60% of them, Madam Speaker, have been happening on the Ndola to Lusaka road. And this is why this administration did place a high premium to ensure that no matter what happens, this road needed to be upgraded into a dual carriageway, whereby construction today, Madam Speaker, is making tremendous progress, and we do hope that indeed, once fully completed, we will be able to indeed save a lot of lives. Madam Speaker, as far as other roads are concerned, such as the road that the Honourable Member refers to, I think that, again, we as a government have been proactive, really, appreciating especially the fact that we are a corridor nation, whereby we do facilitate regional trade. There are certain roads which have been identified as key, and we do not want to experience not only the loss of our citizens, but also the loss of lives of, some of our colleagues from neighboring countries. So we are steadily, improving the state of all these roads, such as also the road between Mpika and Serenge, which has been a very bad state, but that which road is earmarked for reconstruction during phase 2 of the Tracer project, which has seen tremendous improvement on the road infrastructure leading to the Nakonde border. And so, yes, this is exactly what the statement did allude to, that we are confident as a government that sufficient work and planning has been done that we can get to this stage when we can lift the night travel ban. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Ron.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the Minister, and allow me also to join my colleagues to welcome you back, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, thank you very much for your ministerial statement, and I'm glad that you have outlined quite a number of preventive measures that your ministry and the government is going to take to ensure that we avoid these fatalities on our roads. Amongst them, Honorable Minister, you have identified the GPS, the Global Positioning System, as one of the measures. And also, I'm glad that you even mentioned the issue of the driver's fatigue. But I would want to find out from you, amongst the measures that you outlined, you have not indicated, though, in your one of responses, you talked about the fatigue. Is it going to be compulsory for all operators to ensure that these long-distance buses are handled by 2 drivers, and also the number of hours that you talked about, at what point, at how many hours is each driver supposed to take charge of the bus? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Member for Ron for that follow-up question. Indeed, like I stated, we are promoting what we're calling fleet management safety. Now, it is a requirement that operators subscribe to that particular policy because we're trying to work hand in hand with them. They operate very, very expensive equipment, and I'm sure it is not their desire that they must not only lose lives, but also lose their equipment, which is a drain on their capacity to be able to conduct business. So RATSA, through their education department, is actually holding the hands of these operators that they may go around and check whether these operators are putting in place those measures that are factors in bringing about some of these avoidable accidents, albeit obviously regrettable and sometimes lead to loss of life. And so, yes, it was in my statement when I said that those that are operating on long hours, it is mandatory. It is for your own sake. It is for your own good that you actually put a backup driver, that they may be able to take turns whenever a driver, feels fatigued and unable to carry on. And this is why we call upon self-regulation, that let the operators, and indeed those that the drivers tasked with this responsibility, self-regulation will require that government must not twist you to be able to implement some of these measures, which ultimately are aimed at protecting lives. Madam Speaker, just to add that one of the things that we may also need to do as a ministry working in conjunction with RATSA is that some drivers may need to be actually retrained, into defensive, driver techniques in reputable, driving schools, that we may uplift the standard and caliber of our drivers who have a huge task of moving the wheels of our economy. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And before I pose the question to the Honourable Minister, I just want to acknowledge the examples that he has cited of accidents that have occurred before. The one that occurred around John Chinana area in 2013 of the post bus that you referred to, Honourable Minister, is one accident I witnessed, Madam Speaker. I was only a few weeks in the job as Deputy Minister of Home Affairs. I was on an assignment in Kabwe. The time that accident happened, Honourable Minister, was before 7, meaning the bus left in Dola somewhere around 4 o'clock in the morning, that early. And speaking to the survivors, they gave different accounts of what transpired. But the visibility of the area was one of the factors that was cited. It was a sad one. When I say sad one, it was a very sad one indeed. Now, Honourable, I should have been the first one to applaud you for taking that measure. If indeed some of our critical roads, like the dual carriageway that is being worked on, had been complete. Similarly, you have made an example of Serenje on the Great North Road, Serenje Mpika stretch, Chinsali Mpika stretch. You will recall that we had to go to ADB for the Serenje, for the Nakonde, Isoka, Chinsali, which has now been completed. And I think even, Madam Speaker, when you visited Mchinga, you must have seen the number of RTAs that are occurring on the Great North Road as a result of the status of the road. And this measure, Honorable Minister, is a worry to us who use that particular stretch. Because already now we have been witnessing its survival. If you dare drive in the night and you arrive, you pray to God. Why don't you leave some exemptions, especially on these stretches where works are yet to be done? Great North Road, so is the dual carriageway that is being worked on, so that you assess, what would happen, what would be happening on the roads that are reasonably in good condition. Why don't you take an approach with exemptions so that really you help us, especially those of us who travel on the Great North Road. And you know, the Tanzanian tracks, I don't know whether it's a poor state of the tracks and the conditions of the vehicles have been a problem on that stretch. If you add the buses to be moving in the night, it will be, we had done thorough assessment before that measure was put in place. My question is, why don't you take an approach which leaves some exemptions on certain stretches, on certain roads, so that we can manage what is obtaining already in terms of RTAs? Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the Honourable Member for Shuangandu for that. Not so much of a question, it's so much of shared experience as to what he did in his past life when he was Deputy Minister. Madam Speaker, my statement has been quite elaborate. We've quite understood, in depth, what is obtaining, and necessary measures such as, the ones that will be undertaking perhaps tomorrow or on Friday, where we have close to 30 enforcement vehicles that shall be unleashed to help RATSA really play their important role, particularly on the highways, to ensure that there is good driver behavior. The idea that we also put a cap on what sort of speed such operators must be operating at is something that is cardinal. You all agree with me, Madam Speaker, that when we were growing up, we were brought up really knowing that speed kills. Even we in our private capacity, Madam Speaker, when we drive, we do know the consequences of overspeeding, particularly on the nature and type of roads that our jurisdiction has. So, we want to work with our people and ask them to work with government so that there is no going back. Let us, self-regulate, let us improve good driver behavior, and we will not go back to those dark days. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chadiza.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, we appreciate your responses, or we appreciate your statements, sorry to say that. Honorable Minister, most of our roads in Zambia are narrow, with the quite poor signage and to some extent poor horizontal and vertical alignments. Honorable Minister, don't you think it was only right, before you could lift the ban, to look at some of these very important features that we have on the road? The cheapest being improving on the road signage, especially when you are driving in the night. I would give you an example. I would give an example of the Great East Road, which I'm very familiar with. You see, the alignment of the Great East Road, especially between Lusaka and Nyimba, is quite poor to some extent. It's quite poor. Therefore, this is coupled with the poor road signage. And you know, in the night, you would find that there's a change in the alignment. A driver wouldn't know. He doesn't know because there's no signage to indicate that in front, maybe 5-10 meters, there's a change of alignment. He's just going blindly, not knowing that just 2-3 meters, the alignment would change abrupt. So don't you think, first of all, could have dealt with the issue of road signage being the cheapest, because you can't talk about changing the alignment. I know it's expensive. So, Minister, don't you think you are supposed to have dealt with the issue of improving signage prior to you to lifting this ban? Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the Honourable Member for Chadiza for that question. Indeed, Madam Speaker, I think that the way government operates is such that once a policy is espoused, the various ministries, departments must align with that particular government policy. And in this regard, Madam Speaker, the Honourable Member will appreciate that the issues of road furniture that he refers to fall under the Ministry of Infrastructure, whom I am no doubt sure that they too will be playing their part in ensuring that all these factors are brought to bear so that we are all moving in tandem. And I think that you will appreciate that certain times one must be able to espouse a policy, and only then will everything, or you begin to line your ducks in a row, as it were. It's pretty much, Madam Speaker, like saying that there shall be no importation of desks. And I think that we've all experienced how suddenly we all wake up forgetting that we actually had the skills to manufacture our own desks. And today, our Zambian children are sitting on desks, and that we have answered to a policy direction. And all of us as citizens must be upbeat and really share in this government's vision of where we're trying to take this country. Because having realigned the economic fundamentals, we are ready in the next phase that we can actually promote growth, and that Zambia shall not be that bottleneck that inhibits or slows down trade. We just need to come to the party and we shall be okay. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kafula Futa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to ask a question to the Minister. Madam Speaker, I've been born and bred in Zambia, and I have an idea of who a Zambian is. Honorable Minister, you've come up with very, very good and elaborate speech. And like I said earlier, I know who a Zambian is. Besides the good policies that you have brought to this floor, what measures have you put in place to ensure that enforcement is real? When we are driving to the Copper Belt or wherever else, I have not seen proper laybys where, for example, a vehicle breaks down or a driver wants to rest, they have a place to park, like I've seen in other jurisdictions. Maybe after every 10 kilometers, there is a lay-by where whoever wants to rest or there's a breakdown to rest. Why didn't you start with the infrastructure? I know that this is something that you've already attended to, but my major interest is in the enforcement of the policies that you've brought to this House. What have you done in terms of ensuring that there is enforcement to the good policies you've brought? I wish to thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Madam Speaker, I just want to thank the honourable gentleman for having acknowledged that I've actually attended to the question in Council, Madam Speaker, and it appears he's enjoying listening to my responses. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Looking at the time, we're almost done. So I've also permitted the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security to present a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, I wish to sincerely thank you for according me this opportunity to render a ministerial statement on the urgent matter without notice raised by the Honourable Member Binwe Mpundu, Member of Parliament for Nkana constituency, regarding the security concerns affecting students at Levi Mwanawasa Medical University. Madam Speaker, on the 19th of April 2026, students from Levi Mwanawasa Medical University staged a protest that led to the disruption of traffic along the Great East Road. This demonstration was allegedly prompted by growing concerns over the safety and security of students, particularly female students residing in boarding houses within PHI and surrounding areas, following reported incidents of criminal attacks. Madam Speaker, allow me to place the facts before this August House. Between the years 2024 and 2026, the Zambia Police Service recorded a total of 8 cases of burglary and theft, contrary to Section 301 of Chapter 87 of the laws of Zambia, and 1 case of rape, contrary to Section 132 of Chapter 87 of the laws of Zambia, involving students of Levi Mwanawasa Medical University residing in off-campus boarding houses. Of the 8 cases of burglary and theft recorded, 6 occurred between January and April 2026 alone. In these 6 cases, property including laptops and mobile phones valued at approximately 48,000 was reported stolen. All the victims were female students who reported that unknown criminals broke into their boarding houses during the night. The only reported case of rape involving a Levi Mwanawasa medical student was recorded in 2024. I wish to inform this House that the matter remains active and the investigations are still ongoing. Madam Speaker, in response to these incidents, government took immediate and decisive action to address the safety, security, and welfare of the students. A multi-sectorial approach has been adopted involving the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security, the Gender Division, and the University Management. The following specific measures have been put in place. Intensification of police patrols. The Zambia Police Service has intensified both foot and motorized patrols on a 24-hour basis in PHI, Mutendere, Kalingalinga, Helen Kaunda, and surrounding communities. These patrols are aimed at enhancing police visibility, deterring criminal activity, and ensuring a rapid response to reported incidents. Provision of additional transport. The Gender Division has allocated 2 additional motor vehicles to support patrol operations. This has significantly improved police mobility, response time, and operational coverage within the affected areas. 3, relocation of students to secure facilities. Students are being relocated to the former Levi Mwanawasa Medical University office premises, which are being converted into secure boarding facilities. This measure seeks to reduce students' exposure to high-risk environments and ensure closer monitoring and protection. 4, strengthened community policing. Government has reinforced collaboration with community members and local leadership through community policing initiatives. These efforts have enhanced information sharing and strengthened early detection of suspicious activities. 5, deployment of plainclothes officers. Plainclothes officers have been deployed in identified high-risk zones to discreetly monitor criminal activity and apprehend offenders without detection. 6, student safety awareness campaigns. Regular safety and awareness campaigns are being conducted to educate students on personal security practices, crime prevention strategies, and appropriate response during emergencies. 7, engagement with boarding house owners. The Zambia Police Service, through the Schools Liaison Unit and University Management, is engaging boarding house owners and landlords in surrounding communities. They are being encouraged and, where possible, requested to employ trained security guards, install security lighting, secure gates, and CCTV cameras, and share boarding house location details with the Zambia Police Service. Madam Speaker, as a result of these operations, the Zambia Police Service has apprehended 1 suspect in connection with the reported criminal incidents. In addition, 2 mobile phones and 1 laptop worth 17,500 have been recovered. The suspect is currently in lawful custody and investigations are ongoing. Madam Speaker, I wish to assure this House, the students of Levi Mwanawasa Medical University, their families, and the nation at large, that government treats the safety and security of our students with their utmost seriousness. No student should feel unsafe while pursuing their education, and government will not tolerate criminal elements that threaten learning institutions. Government remains committed to strengthening security measures, improving interagency coordination, and sustaining vigilance in the area. These interventions are not temporary reaction, but form part of a broader, sustained strategy to protect students and ensure a conducive learning environment. Madam Speaker, with the continued implementation of these measures, we are confident that the situation will remain under control and that the safety of students will be assured. Government will continue to closely monitor the situation and will not hesitate to take further action where necessary. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement presented by the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. The Honorable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I want to commend you for the efforts that you're taking and putting in place to ensure that there is safety amongst our learners or indeed students. You identified some number of thefts that have occurred in the boarding houses and the recoveries and, of course, the items that have been stolen. Honorable Minister, my question would be to find out if at all, even when you have said that investigations are still ongoing, has there been any cases that have been taken before the courts of law and any conviction that has come out? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chibuye. We have not taken any matter to court as yet. As I indicated, we are still investigating.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kabata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Honorable Minister, I was wondering, the protest itself, if you play the video and hear the chanting, absolutely could even tell that the protest was somehow politically motivated, and the students were probably engaged by some certain quarters of politicians because of the words the students were chanting. Honorable Minister, what is your word of advice to some of these politicians who want to take advantage of the innocent students and allow them to try and cause anarchy in this country? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want to state that in most instances, like the one that occurred where students are protesting, they are usually emotionally charged, and there's always a tendency of chanting political slogans. But in this particular case, I would not be surprised if there are some political elements who have been inciting students to start rioting. Obviously, we have been seeing social media reports, encouragement coming from certain elements who are in the opposition, who are always in the habit of inciting students.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nkana.
Honorable Minister, clearly from the statement you've given to this August House, it looks like this problem has been going on for some time. You have alluded to the number of cases that have been reported since January of theft, clearly suggesting that this has got nothing to do with politics, but actual happenings on the ground. Now, the interventions you've mentioned, Honorable Minister, are mouthful. If followed to the latter, there shouldn't have been a problem that we should have been discussing today. The protest happened 3 days ago, Honorable Minister. Despite all these interventions, where do you think these interventions are failing? Because if the students, despite all these mouthful interventions you've mentioned, will still resort to going to protest as early or as late as 3 days ago, clearly something is wrong. Where do you think we have failed in managing the situation to an extent where students are now resorting, enough is enough, let's go and express our frustrations? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a historical problem. All of us must realize that the Levi Mwanawasa University was created some time back, and there was no student accommodation that was provided. As a result of the failure by the government then, the PF government, that failed to provide accommodation, the students, out of desperation, Madam Speaker, they resorted to seek accommodation in the neighborhood, in Mutendere, in Kalingalinga, and other areas, and which areas, Madam Speaker, are not safe for students to be residing in. And most of those student hostels in those areas, Madam Speaker, they have no wall fences, the buildings have no burglar bars, there's no security feature whatsoever. We have been advising the students to relocate to identified boarding houses, which boarding houses were identified by the university itself. Unfortunately, most of those students do not have enough money to pay for that accommodation. Fortunately, Madam Speaker, we have a caring government. This caring government has decided to start giving bursaries and student loans to Levi Mwanawasa University. Something, Madam Speaker, that never used to happen. But because we are concerned, and because we want the students to live in safer houses, we have given them loans and bursaries so that they can start renting from areas that are conducive for student accommodation. Madam Speaker, this government, the government of His Excellency President Hakainde, has endeavored, not just student hostels, the boarding houses, we have endeavored to start constructing student hostels in all these major universities. Very soon you'll see, Madam Speaker, that student accommodation problem will be a thing of the past. We are collaborating even with private sector under PPP so that we can have suitable accommodation like in other countries. We, as a listening government, will not allow our students to continue suffering as a result of the inertia under PF, where my colleague, Honorable, the Member of Parliament from Ghana, is collaborating and encouraging members of the public to go back to the dark days. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kantanshi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Minister of Home Affairs, I'm happy you have raised quite a number of important points, which I believe should be able to help students. But I think for a long time, government has overlooked the huge business that has come out of boarding houses. You mentioned the interministerial work you're doing, and I feel that even us in Parliament, we haven't done much to help government come up with laws that should be able to help institutions, because it's not just levy. You have also got UNZA. You have also got CBU. All these students are benefiting from, yes, the bursaries, but in terms of accommodation, from these available properties around. I wanted to find out how soon government will be sitting with these institutions to come up with a checklist and indeed even visits that the universities or colleges will be carrying out to ensure that it is agreed in terms of what minimum standards of security, in terms of even availability of services like water, and so on. How soon will government table that amongst its ministries so that these universities have that checklist, which will be able to provide some sense of security, and it will make it easier for you to also pinpoint where the problem is emanating from. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament, for Honorable Mumba. I just want to inform the nation through this House that the Minister of Education, Madam Speaker, is already undertaking that particular exercise. A committee has been constituted wherein they will be advising the universities and the students that they need to get and be in secure environments. That is what we are doing. I also indicated that the Ministry of Education has already started negotiations through PPP for student construction, for the construction of student hostels in all the three major universities. As I indicated, it's a PPP initiatives that will ensure that adequate student accommodation is available. Apart from the PPP, the government itself is embarking on completing their uncompleted student hostels at the Core Belt University and the University of Zambia, which were left uncompleted for a long time, Madam Speaker. We hope that this initiative by the Minister of Education will be completed very soon. But most importantly is the immediate safety of the students so that they are advised to be secured in decent accommodation, wherein, if there is need, security is provided for the students. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. There is an indication for a point of order. What's the point of order, Honorable Member Fonkana?
Madam Speaker, as guided by Standing Order number 71, which requires that everything that we place on the record is factual and can be verified at any time, I just want to seek your indulgence to clarify the statement made by the Honourable Minister of Home Affairs, suggesting that the caring government of the UPND, in addressing the challenges at Levy now, are providing bursaries as well as loans at Levy. Because from where I stand, Madam Speaker, bursaries were replaced by loans, but it is interesting, so that we clarify this record that has been placed before this House. Is this government, Madam Speaker, now providing bursaries as well as loans, so that we are now made clear? Is the minister, in order to suggest that his caring government is still giving out bursaries and loans to Levy Manawasa students? I seek your indulgence, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member Fonkana, that does not qualify to be raised as a point of order. It's a follow-up question. Since you have already asked a question, you can ask one of your honorable members to ask on your behalf. Because we want to seek clarification on the statement that has been made by the Honorable Minister that the government is now giving loans and bursaries. Definitely cannot qualify as a point of order. It's not admitted. The Honorable Member for Itej.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Minister, thank you for the ministerial statement. Minister, when the news of what's happening at Levy broke out, we thought our fellow men, they were protesting against the Criminal Procedure Bill, which is making rape and many other sexual offenses non-bearable. Now, Minister, in the public domain, the perception which was being championed was that these acts are motivated by wanting to rape these children. Now, from your ministerial statement, you are giving a statement that actually there were only 2 cases of sexual nature. Can you kindly help to clarify to the public that the motivation behind these acts could have not been sexually motivated, but there are these other criminal offenses that you have highlighted? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, issues of rape, indecent assault are emotional and very sensitive. It's possible that some other girls were raped or indecently assaulted, but they decided not to report the matter to the police. It's possible. It's possible, Madam Speaker. All what I'm saying is that the reported cases we have pertaining to rape is only 1 case. But there could be other cases which were not reported to the police, and that led to the agitation by the students.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chawama.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, this is the commonest feature in nearly all the universities in this country, the bigger ones, including colleges. The biggest and the gravest mistake that we made was to enroll students not corresponding with what is needed at that particular university. Does government have intentions of putting a caveat that if this university only accommodates 10,000 students, then we need to have the bed space correspond to that number. And knowing fully well PHI, we only have 2 police stations. That is Benwinga Police, and the one that is adjacent to it is Mtendere Police Post. Do you have intentions to build an extra one for the sake of the students? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to state, without contradicting the policy of the Ministry of Education, I have no doubt that the issue of student accommodation and classroom space are not linked. What we believe is that if somebody is offered a space in a university, they can decide to find alternative accommodation. They can be coming from their own homes. That should not be a bar for somebody to be accepted in the university. And this situation is not just obtaining in Zambia here. If you apply for a university space in the UK, they will tell you to look for your own accommodation. They will not tell you that you will not be accepted because we don't have student accommodation in the university. As far as I'm concerned, it's a prudent policy to allow students to be admitted to the university without taking into consideration hostel accommodation for the students. Obviously, the government, as I indicated, has taken into account the need of the students. That's why we are building more hostels. That's why we are now collaborating with the private sector to build more student accommodation. Madam Speaker, the issue that has been raised by the Honourable Member of saying that this is not a new phenomenon. We are aware that it's not a new phenomenon, and that's why we are putting measures to ensure that the students are protected in our campuses, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kankoyo.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me first of all to congratulate our Vice President for her well-deserving position of being UPND Vice President. I think for us young politicians, we learn a lot and get inspired from her leadership. Her desire to see that this country becomes a better place for us, especially our children. Madam, continue inspiring us, and may God add more years so that the people of Zambia can benefit from your leadership. Madam Speaker, we have seen in the past few days or weeks, students being given a space to air their grievances without anyone being shot dead by the police, like we used to see in the previous government. Honorable Minister, what assurance are we giving the Zambian people that this government is a democratic government, is a government which respects the rights of the people, and when they demonstrate, they shall be safe without anyone being injured? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to assure the nation that this government will not use brutal force to enforce the laws of this country. I would like to give an example of what transpired when the students were demonstrating 3 days ago. When the students were demonstrating, Madam Speaker, senior members of government addressed them without using any means of violence against them. We even provided transport to take them back to the university, which was not the case in the past. No tear gas was used. There were no buttons that were used against them. We were civil. We collaborated with them and agreed that their grievances will be met. Just like I indicated, we we discussed and we have resolved some of the issues they were raising without any physical confrontation with the students.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mpika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And I equally congratulate our Honorable Vice President for having been appointed as the UPND Vice President. Madam Speaker, I'm a bit at sea. We are discussing the issue of accommodation and all that instead of the security aspect of the question. Madam Speaker, the problem here is not lack of accommodation, because these same thieves, Madam Speaker, are not only targeting students in those areas. What is important now is that students have come out to speak through a protest. But there are other people, there are other residents who cannot take to the street to go and protest, who are being attacked almost every day by thieves in Mtendere and other areas. Madam Speaker, this problem of junkies and criminality has gone high in our country and it must be addressed. I had expected the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs to take this statement and ensure that at least he assures the nation that his ministry has changed the security strategy to ensure that the issue of junkies is addressed. When you go to Mtendere, Madam Speaker, you can't even move at night after 20 hours. You go to Kalingalinga, it's the same. You go to Chawama, and even in Mpika now, the junkies have reached. So this is a security situation, Madam Speaker, unlike the issue of accommodation, because even if they have accommodation inside the university, these criminals will still penetrate and enter. His ministry, Madam Speaker, is therefore to address the issue of security gaps.
What's the point of clarification, Honorable Member?
My question, therefore, Madam Speaker, is since the current security strategies have failed to address the issues of high criminal activities, is his ministry considering deploying more officers on the ground to patrol every day in these compounds? Because that's the problem now we have, is the issue of security. If at all his ministry has failed, can he consider engaging the Commander-in-Chief to engage the Army? Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, the question of agent nature by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Nkana was very specific. It related to the issue of students at Levi Mwanawasa University. It has nothing to do with the general security situation in the country. If he wants me to respond to the general situation in the country, I'll be able to respond if he wants. But I can tell you, Madam Speaker, that the state of the nation is safe and stable. Zambia has never been safer than the way it is now. During the days of his party, during the days of PF, Madam Speaker, disorderly conduct, criminality was the order of the day during their reign. You could not go to Intercity, Madam Speaker, wearing a red T-shirt. You'll be signing a death warrant for yourself. There was Kamgodi, where the PF criminal thugs were operating from. There are no longer any criminal thugs, Madam Speaker. The nation is free. They are breathing fresh air. And they don't want to go back to the dark ages of PF. We will not want to go back to the days when people are being called cockroaches if you go to certain areas. We are happy. I can go to Mpika and stay there freely and enjoy a drink with my colleague, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Mpika, because we are in a safe environment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chipili.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want credit to Minister, the issue at hand. We are talking about Levi Mwanawasa Hospital with the students Now, have we also including those who are living in Garingaringa and other areas, or what is going on there is specifically within the vicinity of Levi Mwanawasa Hospital? So that I'm clear. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, the students are accommodated in various compounds, including Kalingalinga, Mutendere, Helen Kaunda, and other compounds in Osaka. We, as a responsible government, have decided to move the students from those compounds to the former offices of the Levi Mwanawasa University so that they can be safe and be provided accommodation in an environment that is conducive. We are taking into account all those students who are residing in those compounds which I've just mentioned.
Thank you. Presentation of government bills. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to present a bill titled the Zambia National Public Health Institute Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 50 of 2026. The objects of this bill are to A, revise the composition of the board of the Zambia National Public Health Institute, and B, provide for matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. Let the bill be read the first time.
The Zambia National Public Health Institute Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 50 of 2026.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on Health, Community Development and Social Services. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honorable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Next bill, the Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, once again. Madam Speaker, I beg to present a bill titled the Medicines and Allied Substances Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 51 of 2026. The objects of this bill are to A, revise the composition of the board of the Zambia Medicines Regulatory Authority, and B, provide for matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. Let the bill be read the first time.
The Medicines and Allied Substances Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 51 of 2026.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on Health, Community Development and Social Services. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honorable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Next bill, the Honorable Minister of Acting Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Madam Speaker, I beg to present a bill titled the Standards Amendment Bill, National Assembly number 53 of 2026. The objects of the bill are to A, revise the composition of the board of the Zambia Bureau of Standards, and B, provide for matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing.
Let the bill be read the first time.
The Standards Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 53 of 2026.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on National Economy, Trade and Labor Matters. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honorable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Next bill, Her Honor the Vice President. Madam Speaker, I beg to present a bill titled the National Institute of Public Administration Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2026. The objects of this bill are to A, revise the composition of the Council of the National Institute of Public Administration, and B, provide for matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. Thank you. Let the bill be read the first time.
The National Institute of Public Administration Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2026.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on Cabinet Affairs. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honorable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Next bill, the Honorable Minister of Labour and Social Security.
Madam Speaker, I beg to present a bill titled the Occupational Health and Safety Amendment Bill, National Assembly, number 62 of 2026. The objects of the bill are A, revise the composition of the board of the Occupational Health and Safety Institute, and B, provide for matters connected to or incidental to the foregoing.
Thank you. Let the bill be read the first time.
The Occupational Health and Safety Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 62 of 2026.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on National Economy, Trade and Labour Matters. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honourable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Next bill, the Honourable Acting Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry. Sorry, I was looking there. The Honourable Minister of Trade, Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to present a bill titled the Zambia Development Agency Amendment Bill number, National Assembly Bill number 65 of 2026. The objects of this bill are to A, revise the composition of the board of the Zambia Development Agency, and B, provide for matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. Let the bill be read the first time.
The Zambia Development Agency Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 65 of 2026.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on National Economy, Trade and Labour Matters. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honourable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order 80. The Honourable Member for Kamfisa. The Honourable Member for Kamfisa is not in the House, and in accordance with the our rules, the question lapses. The next question, the Honourable Member for Kafue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 320.
The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Member for Kafue, Honourable Chonya, is asking the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development the following questions. A, whether the government has any plans to upgrade the following roads in Kafue parliamentary constituency to bituminous standards. 1, township roads within Kafue town. 2, the feeder road from Linda Junction via Chikupi and the new Baobab Mount Facility Economic Zone to the junction on the Lusaka-Livingstone T2 road in Kafue town. And 3, the Chirundu to Leopards Hill Lusaka road under the Link 8000 project. Question B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. Question C, what the estimated cost of the project is, and the question D, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, we answer as follows. Answer to question A is government of the Republic of Zambia has plans to upgrade the following roads in Kafue parliamentary constituency to bituminous standard. 1, township roads within Kafue town. 2, the feeder road from Linda Junction via Chikupi and the new Baobab Mount Facility Economic Zone to the junction of the Lusaka Livingston T2 road in Kafue town. 3, the Chirundu Leopards Hill Lusaka Underlink 8000 project. And the answer to B is the plans will be implemented once funds are secured from the Treasury. Answer to C is the estimated cost of for upgrading the said roads are as follows. 1, to upgrade about 10 kilometers of township roads within Kafue town, 150 million. 2, to upgrade the feeder road from Linda Junction via Chikupi and the new Baobab Mount Facility Economic Zone to the junction on the Lusaka Livingston T2 road in Kafue Township, 750 million kwacha. And 3, the Chirundu Leopards Hill Lusaka road under the Link 8000 project, about 1.8 billion kwacha. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kafue.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Honorable Minister. I get this answer of when funds are available. I wanted to check with the Minister whether we have a road construction master plan, as we had been made to understand in the past that government was developing one, which will give us an indication maybe of when these different roads are going to be worked on, because then it will give us a sense of time, and also we will compel government to allocate the resources other than it just being open-ended as the works will be done when funds are available. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, indeed, there is a road master plan in the country. But suffice to say that the upgrading of township roads to bituminous standard in Kafue town falls under the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Whereas the upgrading of Linda Junction via Chikupi and the new Baobab Mount Facilities Economic Zone to the junction of the Lusaka Livingston T2 road in Kafue Township will be budgeted for in the coming road sector annual plan. In the coming road sector annual plan. Works will commence once Treasury resources or secures the required funds for the project. Any project that is done by government has to be under the availability of resources voted for by this Parliament and disbursed by the Treasury. When we appropriate as a Parliament resources to government, to the executive, then the Treasury have a responsibility within the budget to disburse those funds. That's why we keep saying when the Treasury makes resources available. But in the interim, the Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development will prioritize road maintenance works on the D162 road, that is the Linda Junction to Kafue Estates Road in 2026, which is this year. The maintenance works shall be undertaken by the Road Development Agency using force accounts through the regional office once Treasury secures the required funds for maintenance works. With respect to the Chirundu, Leopards Hill, Lusaka Road, the 40 kilometers road section from Leopards Hill to Katoba was upgraded to bituminous standard under the Link 8000 project. Spot improvements was undertaken on the section from Katoba to Chiawa. The honorable member may wish to know that the whole of that road, from Crossroads all the way to Chongwe via Katoba, and also from Katoba now to Chirundu. She will be interested to know that there was 10 kilometers from Katoba that was done to bituminous standard. We are working very hard to interest the private sector through PPP to take interest in that section of the road. The one I've mentioned from Leopards Hill, from Crossroads all the way to Chongwe, and from Katoba to Chirundu. We think that it is viable. If that road is done, then traffic going into Eastern Province and going into Mozambique, coming from the south, from Zimbabwe and other places, will not need to come through Lusaka. It will be using that particular road. So, like in all manner of things which PPP is involved in, it requires that the potential investors satisfy themselves that they'll be able to make their money back. So we are working on that. If it happens soon, we shall implement that PPP even before the next budget. I think that is all, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kafue.
Sorry, just to get you very clearly, Honorable Minister, I wanted to find out whether you've indicated that the partners with which to go together with on this PPP arrangement have already been identified. That's my question.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, there are two routes to those who tend towards American English, two routes to PPP. There is what we call unsolicited bid, where a potential investor or concessionaire comes to government and they say on their own, we want to do this, this particular road. We prefer that because it's quicker. There is what we call solicited, where government undertakes feasibility studies and then they go out and they seek bidders. What I was saying is we have had potential concessionaires approach us on unsolicited basis. These are the ones that we are evaluating and carrying out discussions with them. Usually this is very much the preliminary stage, and we cannot review because we are undergoing certain processes that of necessity we have to undergo as prescribed in the Public Partnership PPP Act. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Private member's motion. The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House urges government to recapitalize the National Health Insurance Management Authority, NIMA, from collapsing. I thank you.
Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
Order. Seconded by the Honorable Member for Isoka. The question is that this House urges the government to recapitalize the National Health Insurance Management Authority, NIMA, in order to prevent it from collapsing. Any debate? The Honourable Member for Kankoyo.
Universal health coverage remains the cornerstone of Zambia's health sector reforms, aimed at ensuring that all citizens have access to essential health services without financial hardship. In this regard, the enactment of the National Health Insurance Act No. 2 of 2018 marked a significant milestone in establishing a sustainable health financing mechanism through the National Health Insurance Scheme managed by NIMA. However, despite this progressive reform, the scheme is currently facing serious financial operational challenges that threaten its sustainability and effectiveness. Madam Speaker, the current status of NIMA is presenting significant financial strains, with the authority approximately 1.61 billion contribution in 2025, but paid out an amount of 1.51 billion in claims, which is still accumulating outstanding liabilities amounting to 1.2 billion as of February 2026. Further, the scheme holds reserves about 565.9 million, which are insufficient to offset its liability. This situation has resulted into NIMA delaying payments to healthcare providers, growing claims exceeding contribution inflows, increased demand for health services, and rising operational and administration costs. Additionally, NIMA has provided healthcare services to senior citizens above 65 years and above at no cost, resulting in an expenditure of approximately 1 billion kwacha per year without corresponding contribution from this group. The legal and policy basis. Madam Speaker, NIMA derives its mandate from the National Health Insurance Act No. 2 of 2018, which provides for the following: collection and management of health insurance contribution, accreditation and payment of healthcare providers, financial sustainability of the scheme, and expansion of the coverage of line with universal health coverage. The scheme is further aligned with the Zambia National Health Policy, the 8th National Development Plan, and Sustainable Development Goal of No. 3 of good health and well-being. The gaps in the current model, Madam Speaker. Despite its noble objective, the current NIMA model exhibits several structural and operational gaps, including contribution rates at 2% of basic pay against a scientific and proven data recommendation of 5% of gross pay. Overdependence on members' contribution without initial capital injection at its start in 2018. Delays in remittance from contribution institutions, limited coverage of the informal sector, reducing revenue inflows, weak risk pooling capacity and limited reserves, high increased costs of healthcare services, and unfunded mandates such as free coverage for senior citizens. Additionally, systematic challenges such as inadequate health infrastructure, urban-rural disparities, drug stockouts, and low public awareness further limiting the scheme's effectiveness. The rationale for recapitalization. Madam Speaker, in light of the challenges, there is an urgent need for government to recapitalize NIMA for the following reasons: stabilizing cash flows. Immediate capital injection will enable NIMA to clear outstanding liabilities and restore liquidity. Protection beneficiaries. Recapitalization will safeguard millions of citizens who depend on the scheme for access to health care. Maintaining providers' confidence. Timely payment will restore trust among healthcare providers and ensure continued service deliveries. In the current state, most of the time, when beneficiaries visit a pharmacy, they are told there is no medicine under NIMA. Preserving health sector reforms. NIMA is currently central to achieving universal health access, and collapse would reserve gains made so far. Building strategic reserves. Strengthening capitalization will enhance sector stability and risk management. Comparative experience from other jurisdictions. Several countries, Madam Speaker, have similar challenges and successfully addressed them through the government intervention. Ghana increased its budget allocation and introduced a dedicated national health insurance levy, which is at 2.5% on goods and services, plus an additional 2.5% from Social Security Trust contribution to stabilize its scheme. Rwanda's contribution rate at 7% compared to us at 2.5% of gross pay, and this has strengthened its risk pooling. The country has further to this subsidized vulnerable population to ensure sustainability. Kenya contribution rate is at 3.5% of gross in addition to other taxes that dedicated and made to the scheme. Tanzania contribution rate is 5% gross in addition to other taxes. The experience demonstrates that early-stage national health insurance scheme requires strong government support, diversified funding sources, and a robust oversight mechanism to remain viable. Madam Speaker, in view of the foregoing, I'm proposing the following resolutions. I'm urging the House to urge the government to, number one, provide immediate financial recapitalization to NEMA to clear outstanding liabilities that are currently at 1.2 billion kwacha to stabilize the operation. Despite NEMA's asset being only 565 million kwacha, their liabilities are currently at 1.2 billion. So this is an upside balance sheet. Expedite approval and implementation of revised contribution rates in line with the actuarial recommendation to enhance revenue mobilization to increase from the current 2.5% to 5% on gross pay. Consider introducing dedicated budget allocation of funding mechanism to support especially those who are 65 years and above. Develop sustainable financial mechanism for vulnerable groups, including senior citizens and high consumers of scheme services, and enhance public awareness, expand coverage, particularly within the informal sector. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, NEMA represents a transformative reforms in Zambia health financial system. However, the current financial challenges poses a risk to its sustainable and broad goal of universal health coverage. The capitalization of NEMA is not a bailout, but a strategic investment in the national health security, social protection, and economic productivity. Timely government intervention will restore stability, strengthen service delivery, and ensure that all Zambians continue access to quality health care without financial hardship. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Isoka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for according me this opportunity to second this important private member's motion. Allow me, at the outset, to commend the Honorable Member of Parliament for Kankoyo constituency, Mr. Hudson Mabeta, for ably moving this motion on the floor of the House. Madam Speaker, in seconding this motion, I will focus on the broader economic, social, and national development implications of recapitalizing NEMA. 1. Economic benefits. A well-functioning national health insurance service is not merely a social service. It is a critical economic investment. Firstly, recapitalizing NEMA will reduce out-of-pocket health expenditures, which currently place a heavy burden on households. When citizens are forced to spend excessively on health care, their disposable income declines, thereby reducing consumption and slowing economic activity. Madam Speaker, secondly, a stable NEMA will contribute to a healthier and more productive workforce. Health citizens are more productive, take fewer sick days, and contribute more effectively on national development. This directly supports economic growth and competitiveness. Thirdly, recapitalization will protect businesses and employers. Many employers rely on NEMA to provide health care security for their workers. If the scheme collapses, employers may be forced to bear higher health care costs, increasing the cost of doing businesses and discouraging investment. Fourthly, Madam Speaker, recapitalization will support the health sector value chain. Timely payments to hospitals, pharmacies, and suppliers will improve liquidity in the health sector, sustain jobs, and prevent disruptions in service delivery. Number 2, social benefits. The social benefits of recapitalizing NEMA cannot be overstated. To begin with, it will promote equity in access of health care. Without a functioning insurance scheme, access to quality health care becomes dependent on ability to pay, thereby widening inequalities. Secondly, recapitalization will protect vulnerable populations, including the elderly, the poor, and those in rural areas. These groups most dependent on public health systems and are least able to afford private health care. Thirdly, it will prevent catastrophic health expenditures, which often push families into poverty. Many households in Zambia face the risk of selling assets or going out into debt to pay for medical bills. A stable NEMA will act as a safety net against such shocks. Fourthly, Madam Speaker, recapitalizing NEMA will restore public confidence in government systems. When citizens see that health services are reliable and accessible, trust in public institutions is strengthened. Number 3, government and development benefits. Beyond the economic and social gains, recapitalizing NEMA offers significant governmental and developmental advantages. Firstly, it will safeguard Zambia's progress towards universal health coverage, which is a key national and international commitment. Failure to support NEMA risks reversing gains already made in health sector reforms. Secondly, recapitalization will enhance fiscal productivity in the health sector. A stable insurance scheme allows government to better plan and allocate resources rather than responding to crises caused by system failure. Thirdly, it will strengthen public-private partnership in health care. When NEMA is financially sound, private health care providers are more willing to participate in the scheme, thereby expanding service delivery capacity. Fourthly, recapitalizing NEMA will contribute to human capital development. A health population is fundamental to education outcomes, labor productivity, and long-term economic transformation. Finally, it aligns with Zambia's broader development agenda, including the 8th National Development Plan, which emphasizes human development and improved service delivery. Number 4, strategic importance of acting now. Madam Speaker, timing is crucial. Delaying recapitalization will only increase the cost of intervention in the future. As liabilities accumulate and confidence declines, restoring the scheme becomes more difficult and expensive. On the other hand, timely intervention will stabilize the system early, prevent collapse, and create a strong foundation for reforms such as improved contribution collection, expanded coverage, and enhanced government. Madam Speaker, recapitalizing NEMA is not simply about rescuing an institution. It is about protecting the health, dignity, and economic well-being of the Zambian people. It is about ensuring that no citizen is denied health care due to inability to pay. It is about sustaining national development and safeguarding the future of our health system. Madam Speaker, with these few but very important remarks, I beg to second the motion. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Any further debate? The Honourable Member from Nkana.
Madam Speaker, for the first time without reservations, I wish to support something that has been introduced by my colleagues from the right. Because usually what they bring is contrary to the needs of the people. For the first time, and I want to commend my brother, the Honourable Member of Parliament for Kankoyo, for this brilliant, proposal. That's why I'm thinking he just needs to resign from there and join the opposition. Madam Speaker, the National Health Insurance Management Authority is perhaps one of the most critical interventions to the health sector in recent years. I can remember off-cuff that two critical decisions were made to revitalize the health sector. Number one, the introduction of NEMA. Number two, the rearrangement of ZAMSA. Remember, Madam Speaker, I'm just trying to give a background. One of the challenges that emerged in the health sector was that when medical supplies were being procured by the ministry, and medical supplies are then taken to the medical stores, it was found that this system was not coordinating, and that is why a decision was made to coordinate all this through one entity called ZAMSA. So the decision of ZAMSA, complemented by the decision of a national health insurance scheme called NEMA, was a perfect intervention to the health systems of Zambia. Now, for the record's sake, and for us to have a very clear understanding, the National Health Insurance Scheme called NEMA is like any other insurance we have. If I have a vehicle today, Madam Speaker, the vehicles that we procure will come to Parliament, we always want to ensure that when my car breaks down, at a time when I don't have money, I don't have to go around, trying to look for money to repair my car. I must have my car already secured in terms of repair at any time without having to think about the size of my pockets. The same applies with the National Health Insurance Scheme called NEMA. Because, Madam Speaker, affliction happens at a point where you are not expecting. You are going to get sick when you don't have a penny in your pockets. And the reason why we had this proposal of the National Health Insurance Scheme was to cover us in times of lack, when affliction hits and we have no money to go to a health facility. So this, by all standards, is a brilliant intervention that must be supported by all well-meaning citizens. And that is why I have no reservation in supporting the suggestion that this scheme must be recapitalized. Let's understand what the challenges are, Madam Speaker. Now, the challenges in the health sector today, for the common person, ranges from number one, the unavailability of health institutions wherever our people are. Yes, there's a lot of health facilities, some available within reach of our citizens, but some places have facilities far from their reach. And in such instances, Madam Speaker, you will find there is a private facility that is just within your reach. Because when serious ailments hits you, you have no time and power to go far and wide searching for facilities to attend to you. You want to go to a very near facility to be attended to so that you don't lose life or the situation doesn't get exacerbated. And that is why when people have access to any facility that is near them, we know that we can save life. The other challenge we have in accessing health support to our people is the lack of equipment, because most of these facilities we have that are managed by government do not have the facilities or the equipment that are needed to attend to some of the critical health needs of our people. And I'll give an example. Today, a lot of our people are needing renal services. The question is, how many of our public facilities have renal services to attend to our people. You find that whereas government does not have those facilities near our people, they can easily access them in public, hospitals. Now, the challenge in the management and implementation of this scheme has arisen because of these two things, Madam Speaker. Number one, the health insurance wants to cover or needs to cover every citizen, including those who are disadvantaged, the aged, the widows, the orphans. But these, like the aged who are 65 and above, cannot or are not expected to pay. The question is, how then do we cover up? Because that gap is too huge, because there are so many people who are aged who are not making a contribution. The number two issue, which already alluded to by the move of the motion, is the informal sector who are not making these contributions as and when they are needed to make this contribution. So the only feasible thing to do, Madam Speaker, is to try and cover up this gap that has been created. Because if we all heard from the mover, the gap in terms of funding is very serious, namely that NEMA is sitting at a fund of about 600 million kwacha. Meanwhile, whatever it is that they owe institution is about 1.5 million kwacha. So this gap, Madam Speaker, needed to have been filled up in some form of arrangement. And that is why the move of the motion is basically suggesting to complement or to cover up the people that otherwise this scheme is intended to cover, the aged, the marginalized, the disadvantaged people in our societies. Government needs to come in by way of creating a pool of resources towards recapitalizing NEMA. I think that the request being made by the mover is not out of sight. Every other year we are appropriating the budget towards the Ministry of Health. I think it won't be so much to ask for us to allocate resources towards the recapitalizing of NEMA. Madam Speaker, for me, I want to be on record. There are so many reports, so many complaints coming from our citizens who are unable to receive help in the health sector because of, number one, professionals specialized in certain treatments are running from public institutions to private institutions. These can be followed in those public institutions if our people are covered through this health insurance scheme. The unavailability of essential equipment otherwise found in private facilities can help us if we have NEMA functioning at full scale. So, Madam Speaker, without wasting so much time, I want to be on record to support the motion that we need to compel government to push in money into NEMA so that it is capitalized to cover up the gap that otherwise has been created because of the certain categories of our citizens who cannot afford to make contributions to NEMA. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Do you have any member who has a contrary view? The Honorable Minister of Health to respond after break. As the time is 1640 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes for a health break.
Good afternoon. You're tuned into Parliament Television. Business will resume at 17 hours as the House is considering a motion that has been moved by Mr. Mabeta, seconded by Isoka MP Ms. Nakaponda, urging the government to recapitalize the National Health Insurance Management Authority in order to prevent it from collapsing. So the motion is titled Recapitalize the National Health Insurance Management Authority. And so this particular motion continues to be discussed immediately after the break. It's time now to look at what has been considered on the floor of the House thus far.
Earlier on, there were two ministerial statements that were rendered. The first one was rendered by the Minister of Transport and Logistics, and this was on the lifting of the night driving ban for public service vehicles. And the second one was rendered by the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, and this was on the measures that the government is taking to address the security issues affecting students at Levi Mwanawasa Medical University.
There was a presentation of some government bills, 5 of them, and we'll be able to tell you exactly which bills were presented right after the break. They were actually presented and they've passed the first reading stage. Of course, the House did consider one question for oral answer under Standing Order number 80. The other question did lapse because the Member of Parliament was not in the House at the time that that question did come up for consideration. And just about now, we'll take a break and join us shortly for more.
On the Vice President's question time.
Questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 76.
A matter to be admitted, it has to be of recent occurrence.
Continue watching Parliament TV, a channel dedicated to bring Parliament closer to you.